This is a video for parents of children with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities, which is a range of conditions such as cerebral palsy or various neurodevelopmental conditions, which may impact your child's ability to make decisions on their own as they reach adulthood. Hi, I'm Rebecca Seltzer. I'm a general pediatrician who cares for kids from birth through the transition to adulthood, and I'm one of the lead authors on this new policy statement related to alternatives in decision-making for youth with intellectual and developmental disabilities. You may be surprised to hear that we actually recommend starting to have these conversations as young as 12 to 14 years old. And while that may sound young, it's really important because they're in this window of time where we still have the opportunity to think about the best ways that we can help your child further develop their abilities, their capabilities to be making decisions on their own, and really have that window of time to say, what are the types of decisions that they can be engaged with? Or are there additional supports we could put in place, like a communication device or additional therapies they may need, or recognizing additional support services that could help them optimize their own abilities to make these decisions. Because at the end of the day, we really want your child to be able to make as many of the decisions as possible on their own independently, as long as they're able to do so in a safe way. And we really want to maximally promote that as much as possible to respect their autonomy. And it may mean that if we just give them a really simple support, they can do a lot of that decision making largely on their own. So for example, something that may be a simple thing we could do is when that youth turns 18, make sure that there is Proxy access in place for their parent to still be able to access their electronic medical record or that patient portal so that they can still communicate with their provider, they can still see results, they can still help their child make medical appointments. There may be options like going and talking to a lawyer and having something that's not quite as restrictive as guardianship, but still give the parents some ability to make decisions if it is a type of decision their child thinks that they can't make. And that may be something like a power of attorney. But what we want parents to recognize is that it really is this full continuum. And ultimately what we're trying to do is put the least restrictive supports in place so that your child can, as much as possible, be making these autonomous decisions. If your child turns 18 and there's no plan in place, it can be really problematic. So for example, let's say your child recently turned 18 and they get admitted to the hospital and they need a procedure. If the medical team now doesn't know who's legally authorized to be making that decision for your child, it can lead to delays in care. It may postpone that procedure being done while the medical team has to navigate with potentially even the legal team, your family, some of your providers to figure out who really is authorized to be making that decision. And again, that's because there's this assumption that when youth turn 18, that all of a sudden they're legally entitled to be making all of the decisions on their own. Even if up until that day before they turned 18, you were the one who was really navigating those decisions for them and making those decisions on their behalf, that can quickly change overnight from a legal perspective. And we want to make sure that you as a family are set up, again, with the right level of supports in place, whether that be something to the end of the spectrum like guardianship, or something else that's more towards the least restrictive options like power of attorney, or simply being able to review records and coordinate care through that proxy access on a patient portal. And if you're really trying to quickly get this hasty plan in place, what can happen, I worry, is that people start erring onto that most restrictive side because that may be what they're aware of or what they think the only option is. When if we plan this more thoughtfully over years instead of over days, we can really think what is the appropriate amount of supports for different types of decisions for your specific child. We really want pediatricians to recognize their role in upholding human rights and human dignity for all youth, including youth with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And in doing that, it is important to recognize that many youth with various types of disabilities do have the ability to be involved in decision making. Some of them fully autonomous decision making on their own. Some of them making decisions on their own with just some of these more limited, less restrictive supports in place. So, as the parent of a child with intellectual and developmental disabilities, I really want to make sure that you are aware of these various options so that you can have an informed discussion with your pediatrician about that. While as pediatricians, I think we're pretty good at recognizing our role in wanting to support developing autonomy for all youth. It's particularly important for this population. And so these are the types of conversations that you want to be having continuously over time with your pediatrician. So you're constantly reassessing what that right level of support is. Your pediatrician may not know to bring this up. And so you can go advocate for your child yourself. If you haven't already started having these conversations and your child is within that age I mentioned, and remember, that's as young as 12 to 14 years old where we want to start having these conversations, I highly recommend bringing this topic up with your pediatricians and asking them, what's the best way that we can start assessing my child's needs right now, the types of supports they might need in place when they turn 18, and are there things we could be doing now to really promote and optimize their ability to make decisions once they turn 18.